Hey everybody, Jeremy here. So today I'm going to be reviewing the DC Direct in association with McFarlane Toys 7-inch page puncher figure for Constantine, John Constantine. So this is $24.99. I picked this up at Amazon.com. This is one of a handful of the 7-inch page punchers. It comes with a Black Adam comic book, which we're going to take a look at before we look at Constantine. And I think that this is a pretty cool line. The fact that they give you a physical comic book to go along with the figure in pretty much the same size kind of a box that you would get in a regular McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figure. Here's a look at the back of the box. So very familiar there, although the color scheme is different than the DC Multiverse line. But let's take a look at this Black Adam comic book. So here's a look at the comic book. It comes in this protective plastic sleeve, and it also comes with this little card here. So let's take a look at this card, see what's on here. It's got that Page Punchers logo on it. So here's a look at the card. And then over on the back, talks about John Constantine a bit. So, you know, just like the McFarlane DC Multiverse line, you get yourself a card. Although, if we can kind of compare what these cards are like, they are pretty much the same size. DC Multiverse there, Page Punchers. So pretty much the same thing that they got going on here. All right, so let's take a look at this here comic book. All right, ooh, it's in very good shape. Look at that comic right there. On the back, it's got the DC logo. We got glossy pages. So I'm just gonna go to a random page in this comic book. It's a full-fledged thing, you know. It's got that good smell, that classic page smell. Let's see how many pages are actually in here. Do they actually put the number of pages? They don't have the number of the pages, but it's a pretty decent amount of pages to read through here. Very, very nice artwork. Yeah, so that is awesome. Comic book with your figure. Speaking of which, let's take a look at Constantine. So this Constantine figure is very photogenic. That's what I like about him the most, and that's why I chose to go for this one for my first page puncher above Black Adam and Superman and Batman. One of the reasons is I really like this effect here. Now, I don't know anything about Constantine, so I don't know what you would call this effect with this pentagram on it, but I love the way that it looks. And this is actually attached to his hand. So there are a couple of interchangeable hands, and this one is one of them. So this already comes attached, and then by default, out the box, he has this hand here. But this doesn't do anything. There's only 2 accessories that you get. So of course, you're going to want to put the hand with an awesome effect on it to display. The other accessory that you get is this book. The pages are blank when you just kind of look at it head on like that, but it also has, again, like that pentagram looking thing on the cover of the book, and it's made so that you can just slip that into his left hand and, you know, just kind of hold it, you know, loosely, but it's not going to fall thanks to gravity. And I really like this look. Now, he does have side eyes slightly, a little bit, but when you pair it with the accessory with the book, it sort of looks like he's looking down at the book. So at least with the accessory, it kind of makes sense. But if you just didn't have him with the accessory and you just wanted to pose him up some other kind of way, then yeah, if you look close enough, the side eye does look a little bit weird in context to what's going on all around him. Now, this is a DC Direct figure, but it still has a lot of McFarlane DC Multiverse influence in it. One of the things is going to be like this base here. This is the same plastic DC base that you get with all of the DC Multiverse figures, so there's nothing different about that. And really the way that Constantine is constructed is also very reminiscent of the DC Multiverse figure line. So you're not getting like a huge bump up in quality or even like a downgrade in quality. They could have swapped boxes and you really wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So as far as the articulation goes, it's good articulation, but you just have to be aware it's going to be limited somewhat by the overcoat that he's wearing. But actually, before we get into that, let me just turn him around so that you can see him. Nothing really of note. You know, you just get the coat and the pants. I like his blonde hair with the streaks of black in there. Give it a little bit more depth. The hair looks good. The pants, you can see that there's a tear in the pants, so it looks a little bit worn. The tie is mostly attached, but it still kind of flaps like that. But you can't take the coat off. At least it doesn't really seem like you can, because while it kind of opens a little bit at the bottom, once you go up towards the top, it's like it's glued right there. So unfortunately, you can't take off the coat and just have him, you know, just be with the dress shirt on. So he's going to have to keep that coat on. But the arms are separate from the coat, so they articulate separately from him, and that gives you more range. You get double jointed elbows, which I'm always a big proponent of. And you also get those standard butterfly joints. I mean, these are just like any other DC Multiverse figure from McFarlane that, you know, has a relatively skinny guy, you know. So you got your double jointed elbows, you got that cool rotation, you got the pivoting on the wrist, you know, and that kind of up and down. For the torso, you get a little bit of limitation thanks to the jacket, the overcoat, the trench coat, the whatever, but you can kind of sort of get under there so that you can rotate them to the left and to the right, and then get them to crunch a little bit front and back, but you know, not a whole lot. For the legs do spread out actually pretty darn far, and they can get out of the way of the coat. So, you know, you want Constantine to do a split, sure, why not? You can do that. Double jointed knees, of course, and they're always a bit stiff right out the box, but there you go. Double jointed knees. I mean, you know how this thing goes. You know, your foot articulation, you got the toe pivot there. You got a little bit of pivot on the foot, not as much as I've seen with some other figures, but you do have some pivoting. And, you know, other than that, it's all good. It's all good. Hey, it did all that and he's standing up on his own. So stability is not a huge deal with this guy, but he does still have that base just in case you need a little bit more reassurance when you put him on display. If I could make a criticism, but something that I would have liked to have seen just a little more detail on this coat here. I would have liked to seen a little more maybe black or brown mixed in with this, you know, just so that it can, you know, make it stand out more. Kind of like the hair. If it was just regular blonde, it would look a little plain. But, you know, when you mix in that black, it gives it a little bit more pop. I would have liked to have seen that with this overcoat as well. Perhaps even on this belt portion here, you know, just to give it a little bit more depth. But, you know, I'm just kind of nitpicking at this point. But I do like how it's molded. I do like all the wrinkles in the pants. I like the wrinkling of the shirt. I think that that is very well done. It's very well molded from that regard. And honestly, you know, for the $24 that you would pay for this guy, in addition to getting this comic book to go along with it, you know, I'm happy. I'm happy with it, you know, definitely. The only thing is, you know, I think that it's the same comic book no matter what figure you get. So if you get all the figures, you're just going to be getting the same Black Adam comic book. At least that's how I think it goes. And if it is like that, then that will be one of the downsides to the page punchers, because you're paying a little bit more to get that book. But if you're spending money to get multiple copies of the same comic book, you know, what are you going to do with all those? You know, so that's really the only downside about the page punchers. I think it's a good idea, but when you're trying to go for the whole collection, I think you can get a bit redundant. But yeah, other than that, I like this guy. I'm going to keep my eyes open for some more page punchers. And I guess depending on how successful these turn out, perhaps we'll get some more of these guys in the future. Also, you know, right before we go, let me get another regular DC Multiverse figure and just kind of put them side to side with Constantine so you can see any size difference, if any. So here's Constantine side by side with Black Adam from the Endless Winter Wave of DC Multiverse, and you see that the size is pretty comparable. So he doesn't look like he's way too small or way too big. I don't know how tall these guys are supposed to be in canon, but you can see right here, they look just fine together. So these will go along with your DC Multiverse figures just fine. So if you want to pick this guy up, pick your poison wherever you want to get them. Some places have them available right now. Other places still have them available for pre-order. But Amazon.com, you can get them right now. So that's all for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jeremy. I'll talk to you later.